Welcome, welcome! I'm Local Moon Bunny VTuber, Jueri! Today we're unboxing the Zeon Rush Gundam Assemble set. If you don't know who I am, I'm someone who's been building for a year and a half now. Mostly straight building here on the channel every Saturday, so if you're interested in that, feel free to join me. But for the last 6 months, I've been deep into the Gundam TCG, and we'll be unboxing this as well as painting some of the miniatures. Or at least attempt to paint the miniatures because I'm someone who just straight builds again. These are not really required to play the Gundam TCG, they're sort of just added to the set as a way to promote the Gundam Assemble that's coming out next year in 2026. If you look on the back here, we see that it has one ready-to-play 50-card deck, 10 resource cards, 1 paper damage counter, 8 token cards, 1 bonus pack, 2 rules playsheet, and 3 Gundam Assembles. Now, I've been really excited for this because I always wanted to practice painting on these miniature kind of models, so I think it's a good way to kind of get into that. Now let's talk about the price for this. I pre-ordered this from my local card game store for $35, which is actually MSRP as suggested on the Gundam TCG website. Now for that price tag, it's fantastic. If you want to buy the starter deck, it'll be $15 by itself. That means that the price of these 3 miniatures comes to a price tag of about $20. With that aside, let's open the box. Ooh, okay. Ooh, whoa. Okay, there's a couple more things in here I have to pour out, I think. Oh yeah, they do. Right there. And I think that's it. So let's take a look at what do we have for TCG side here. So in this game, there are what's called tokens, which are cards that are playable, but only through special means, like maybe another card summoning these tokens. I think the idea with this is that you're supposed to put these miniatures on top of the tokens. All right, let's look at this. It's quite a bit, isn't it? Oh, they actually have an instruction pamphlet about what Gunpla is, so that's really cool. Alright, first thing first, we have the English rule set. So this will be given to you as a way to get caught up with the game and everything. There you go, it tells you how to play the game, as we look at that. And on the other side, we have the playmat. This playmat's pretty standard for the TCG. Everyone knows at TCG shops bring their own playmat nowadays, so this is something that's nice to have for beginners, but not something that everyone will be using. Because it's not gonna lie, a little bit lame. Next we have the What is Gunpla little pamphlet. This is my first time seeing this actually, so let's open this up. I built Gunpla for quite some time now and I never received a pamphlet like this. This is basically an advertisement saying, hey, we have our tabletop RPG coming soon, so please look at this and read this too. And it gives a little bit of a precursor to what the TTRPG is about. It says here that they are approximately 5cm size Gunplas for battle. Each unit have the ability to reflect their unique characteristic, allowing players to enjoy scenarios that follow the original story or diverge the situation that transcend the World Mobile Suit Gundam series, thus providing the both sense of recreation and distinct battles. Detailed rules and product specification will be announced later. Alright, so they do have QR codes for us to look at their official socials. On the bottom here is what is Gunpla. I had to explain to a friend what Gunpla is as opposed to Plamo, so this is really funny seeing this sort of broken down here. And to give you a very basic overview of what that entails here. This is nice. I can see someone new getting into this and being like, oh my god, you know, miniatures are awesome. Let me just see the Gundam miniatures. So we have this here. Ooh. Okay, so the basics of how to cut, the way to cut it and stuff. Assembling it. And here it is to show you how it's done. When you summon a token onto a field with your cards, you can also put the miniature on top of it. It doesn't really add anything, and I actually have not seen anyone use these miniatures in their game yet. And what the color guides are, unfortunately, I just want to say this right now, I do not have the colors listed here. I would love to, but I only have 2 colors we'll be painting with, pink and purple, so if that bothers you, well, too bad. And then the back of it gives you a bit more info on how to play team battle for the TCG, and that's it. Alright, let's take a look at the little card pack here. Just for reference, there's only 1 card in here, and it's usually one of, I want to say 16 cards in these promo packs. I'm not 100% sure. Ooh. It's a little bit harder because there's only 1 card, so it's very easy to bend. Let's see what we have here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh my god, I hate this. I already have this card. So because I played the starter deck with my local card game store, I actually pulled this. So you can see it has the little shiny foil around Char. But I already pulled this card with my single pack as well during the starter deck event. So I kind of trolled myself a little bit. These packs actually do include stuff like an LR Legendary Rare, but unfortunately, with my grimy luck, I did pull the same card twice, so that's alright! So here we have the Zeon Rush starter deck. If you want to get into the game, this is something you would buy in order to kind of find a starting point, and from there you buy booster packs to kind of enhance and trade out some cards out of here. But this is a nice place for beginners again to just get into the game right away. So we have this Nanju, this will be your main card. These are just so nice. Like, look at the coloring on it, the foiling, and the general etch lines that's going around it. It just looks so nice. And they're also pretty thick too, so you don't have to worry about bends or anything like that. There'll be duplicates of the same card just because you want to increase the chance for pulling the cards, right? So you'll see some of that. Sharazaku 2. Ooh, this is also an LR as well. The rarity of the card is signified by the top right, so this one is a common with the C. Now my main grievance with this deck is the fact that it's a very early centered deck, so you have to make sure you pull the right cards and pull the right pilots and stuff. Most people have decks that are a lot more late game orientated, so it's kind of hard to play against that kind of thing. One main drawback is the fact that there's no draw power with these, at least not inside a starter deck, and so you kind of have to go top decking towards the end. Despite all the shortcomings of this deck, I do love playing the Zeon card deck. I think it's just so fun, and I think it's cool. Char's cool, Sinanju is cool. It's a fun deck. Not a huge fan of Zaku 1. I saw it for the first time during my UC watch along, so there's that. We have Goof here. Goof, who will deploy the token, so you would actually use this card to deploy the miniatures if you really wanted to. Full Frontal, because this is a Nanju deck, so we have Full Frontal as a pilot for him. And we're probably gonna have like 4 Shars as well. Believe me, you want copies of these because you want them to show up in your hand as often as if they can. During the gameplay, you can only have 4 copies of the same card, so that's why we see that limitation there. We have Rumble Rel, so we can pair with the Goof. This is a base card, does 1 damage to units. As you can see, a lot of these cards are low cost and they focus on dealing 1 damage to units if they can, anywhere they can. And so that's just sort of the fun with Zeon decks. And that's it. Now we have what are resource cards, and these are what you use to indicate how much something costs to deploy or what level you are in the game. So there should be 10 of these. As well as the EX space for you to start off with, the EX resources, and then finally these tokens. These don't go into your deck when you play, they would be off to the side actually. So we have a few Sharazaku 2 and a few Zaku 2 itself as well. And then we have damage tokens which you use to indicate how much damage is done to a unit. So that's what we have here. You just punch these out and then you add them to cards as you play along. Alright, let's look at the miniatures. So these are the miniatures that we have. Do note that these are not colored because you are supposed to color them yourself. I do have a couple of things with this. For the actual model building portion, we have a single-bladed nipper and a double-bladed nipper. Just in case, I do have glass nail filer for it. For the painting portion of it, we have the purple nebula color and also the twinkle pink color. Now, these do look like they need to be shaken a little bit. There's some heat wave that happened over here on the East Coast, so I might have to shake this bottle a lot because the color should be closer to this color rather than whatever's happening at the top. So that's something we have to take note of. I also have sanding sponges just so we can have a little bit of a rougher surface for the paints and hair. And also little small paintbrushes too. We're gonna hand paint this because I don't have money for an airbrush. And lastly, we do have a top coat. Now, I do want to give a quick shout out to Lysergic for these items. I would have never done custom painting work, so thank you so much again. So first, let's take out the pieces from the plastic here. My main concern with this is that the plastic's going to be a lot thicker compared to what we have for Gunpla. So that's what I want to evaluate first. And I know they're going to be tiny because they are, you know, miniatures, but it never hurts to kind of compare. So first we have the stands that these art miniatures are supposed to be on top of. Pretty standard. It feels a little bit cheap because, you know, again, these are supposed to be not the main focus of the piece, but it is very thin. Now we have 3 runners here for the 3 Zakus that we'll be building. Looks like, now I could be wrong on this just because I haven't built it yet, but looks like the individual runners are the individual Zakus themselves. So we're not going to have any parts crossover from this area to this area here or anything like that. We'll just have one focus runner for one Zaku and another one for a separate Zaku too. So first impression, these are very nicely made. These are very thick runners, by the way. Oh, these are really cool. They're actually all in different poses. This is one leg of the Zaku right there. And we have the shoulder piece, the hand over here. This looks like it's gonna be the mouthpiece, the weapon here. Not 100% sure what this might be. I think it might be the other arm, maybe? And then the other foot at the bottom. So, very cool. Very high quality, I would say, for a plastic model. So we'll start with B1 here. This is actually gonna be the chest piece too. Look how thick this is. Oh my god. I would never subject my god hands to these kind of runners. Don't be fooled, these are really small. I don't care if my hand looks like it's really big or do you think, but these are really small. These are really hard to put in together, but once you do, it's very satisfying. And you can see that it leaves a bit of a gap here for the mono eye to come through. Creates a really nice depth with it. The next part is going to be the legs, and the legs are interestingly well, actually connected to the lower torso, so it's going to be one big piece with this one. This is probably one of the biggest connection joints I have ever seen. This is coming from a Gunpla builder, not a model kit builder, so maybe this isn't the norm. I'm just surprised just by how big this portion right here is. Right, we can put this on. Whoa! Wait, this looks really nice coming together. You can tell they have a game plan in mind with the way they posed it because the head's offset from the legs already, and the rest of the body actually. Fortunately, the plastic was laying on thick on here in the connection point in the leg, so it is very noticeable, but luckily I think it's the sort of thing that paint will cover up. You can see on the camera right here the slight white blotch. Ooh, maybe it's on me. Most we can do is just smooth it out. Unfortunately, there's gonna be some discoloration, but we're not gonna leave this gray, we're gonna leave this colored, so at least that will be done. We're gonna have 3 different variations of pink and purple on all of them. I'm just sorry to say, I don't have a lot of colors to work with. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to really do any custom work, so that's why I chose the 2 colors I knew I was gonna use the most. Alright, so let's put the legs in here. Oh, okay, wow. Wow, wait, these look really nice when they're posed in this sort of way. I'm a little bit worried by the surface here because of the way the runner connected to the piece. It does leave some pretty egregious marks on it. But again, once we sand it down and add some color, it should cover up. I don't think it'll show up in the final results, but just in case, we'll just do some sanding. Oh, okay, so this piece is really interesting looking piece. Will hold the weapon here. Like this, if I can pull it properly. Wow. That looks like a part that will fall off, but maybe I'm wrong on that. There it is. That's our first miniature. Wow. There you go. Oh my god. Look at that. Oh my god. For a miniature, it's very detailed. Okay, so one of the things I like about this is the fact that it's just so easy to build together. If you're coming from Gunpla to this, it kind of feels very similar. But I will say it's going to be a lot less pieces put together than a typical Gunpla kit, so to prepare for that. I like how fleshed out the plastic is in this. I'm sure it's like hollow at some point, but it feels like they use very thick plastic molding for these, so that's really nice. Now there is some interesting seam lines on this kit. It's not too noticeable, but some light seam lines here. So you really wanted to, you can buffer that down so that it's a little bit more seamless. But honestly, it's so cool if you can see the face on this. The details in the mono eye is so cool. There's only 2 parts that are connected, the top part and also the little pipe for his mouth. Having those 2 was just enough to kind of create a depth of having his mono eye inside his socket. So that's really cool. Alright, 1 down. Let's do 2 more. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit just because the build process is pretty similar, but I am gonna ooh and ah over the parts. I have thought about getting into Warhammer some time ago, but the Gunpla people found me first. So it's a lot easier to dive into a new hobby having people who are more experienced with it. And if anyone were to, from the Warhammer side, were to scoop me up back then, I think the timeline would have been different. I would have been making a video on these Gundam miniatures and comparing to Warhammer and stuff. Okay, there you go. It's crouching. Whoa! Look at that, the skirt is kind of lifted up on this side here. It's half is up, half is down, so you can see where they're planning to have the legs go on this one. And spin. Not bad. I'm surprised they did this really well. You know how it can be with Bandai and some of their kits. So I'm pleasantly surprised that these fit so nicely. Okay, that's really cool. Right here, he's like hitting the ground here, putting his fist to the ground. It's really neat. Slight floating happening with it. It's actually, even though he's kneeling down in this pose, he's actually not quite touching the little standee it comes with. So we'll just look at this around. Look at that! Wow. I can see if you're someone who enjoys painting and like creating your own custom little stuff, this is something that might be more of interest. There might be a fair amount of people who be into the TTRPG. I just don't know if people would build these too often, because the main appeal for me at least for Gunpla is being able to pose them and display them and not have to color at them. But this definitely appeals to people who are more on the painted side of things. Ooh. It always surprises me when the head kind of off-centers itself from the body, so it's always so unique to me. I know it's such like a common thing with miniatures, but like again, this is just all so cool to me. The shape of the arms here, very unique shape. Going into this little gap here. Whoa, that is a very unique pose. Look at that. I like that this one has a floating pose to it, where his legs are lifted up and everything. It's not really having both foot planted on the standee. Okay, so with these three guys, we're gonna try to buffer them a little bit just so they have a bit of a coarser surface to paint on top of. And we have GueriHaan branded sanding sponges for this. These can be bent and used in small crevices, so this is actually perfect for the job. I've not used these before, so apologies if these are not what they're meant to be used for. I don't know if I want to keep sanding these because it is so difficult to get through some of the crevices, and it's not like you can really take apart some of the pieces because a lot of the difficult, hard to reach spots are connected. So maybe it's less than ideal to do this for miniatures, but I might as well just do one and skip the rest. I also kind of doubt that I'm gonna have too much movement and touching of these miniatures after they're done. This is the only guy we have sand, but here we do have a plate here for the paint and everything. So I guess we're gonna see how much it makes a difference when it comes to sanding down one guy as opposed to the others who are not sand down. So yeah, let's get to it. We'll start with Sharazaku. We're gonna make it primarily pink. Oh no, I think it looks like it's laying on thick, so I have to thin out the color, but maybe it's fine. The one disadvantage when it comes to hand painting is that you'll see the strokes on there. We're gonna have to coat this twice because this is gray, so lighter colors like pink or white are just not gonna show up that well. I'm trying to lay it on thinly just because laying on too thickly, I don't want it to dry up and then suddenly there's like a huge glob of something on his leg. It might be better to have painted this prior to putting it together. Maybe it's okay. One thing that was suggested that I do, which I forgot to do, was to wash off these miniatures or even like any plastic molecule before adding paint on it, just because you don't want any shavings or dust falling on top of it, or else it clumps up, right? Maybe I shouldn't hold this barehanded. Give me a second, I'm gonna see if I can grab some sort of thing to hold it. Okay, we're back with some mini clips here. Shout out again to Lysergic because he knew what I needed in the future, so he sent them. So we're gonna snap this on the bottom of it just so I avoid having to grip anything I shouldn't be gripping, which aka is paint. I don't think the paint is that dangerous, at least not this kind of paint I'm working with. Alright, progress. Oh god, it's hard to see on camera. You can see, depending on how you paint it, if you're not careful, you might add streaks with your brush. So it's actually very nice to have brushes like these or flatheads so that they can kind of hide the brush stroke a little bit better as opposed to some of the more like bushier brushes. So I think it's nice. The pink is laying on top of gray, so it's kind of looks more like a white Zaku for now. But I think once we start adding in the second layer for this and also a little bit of purple to kind of contrast it, it'll look a lot better. Oh my god, it's done! But kind of not really, because I kind of have to... You guys see it here, this is obviously all rookie mistake stuff, but the paint kind of clumps around along here, along the shield here, so this is one example of many, but for the most part it's very smooth. But yeah, so now that this is mostly done, we're gonna wait a little bit and then we're gonna have to top coat it. Alright, one last step. We're gonna top coat this right now. Let's go! You thought I was gonna do it inside my house. You crazy. I'm not that crazy, okay? At least I read instructions. Right now it's like midnight, so yeah. So probably have to wait in the morning. Or maybe I'm crazy enough to do it outside. Oh shoot. Oh shoot, I forgot. It's supposed to be like 10 inches away. Sorry. Oh god, I don't know if I hit it. I'm too scared to waste the top coat, but I hope this is okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So this thing has top coat and I'm supposedly supposed to wait 1 hour. Things falling apart. Alright, so an hour has passed. The top coat should have dried by now. To me, it's still... I still have paranoia that it might be radioactive still, you know, all that stuff, cancer-inducing stuff. But, it's done. Look at it, it looks really nice. I am able to lay down the coat and have it kind of applied pretty evenly around it. It was a little tough getting into those crevices, but having the hand-painted work definitely helps. I do see a little bit of a area that needs to be sanded down, but I'll do that after the recording and stuff. But yeah, look at that. I'm very excited to have finished painting my first Gunpla miniature, whatever you want to call it. You know, same difference. And it looks really good. I might actually do a couple more touch-ups with like a marker or something, just because I feel like there's a lot of separation between the pink and purple. Or I guess in this case, white and purple. But for a first time work, I think it looks great. Now, would I buy miniatures again in the future? I'm not really someone who's into tabletop RPGs, but with the Gundam Assemble, I actually might try it out. I don't think miniatures are really meant to be purchased by itself. Maybe by itself one time just to kind of experience it. But other than that, buying it more than once might require you to get into the TTRPG hobby. But lots of firsts in this video, so I'm glad to take you along with me for that journey. High key, top coating, kind of intimidating. I'm so sorry you had to watch that. But yeah, other than that, I look forward to the Gundam Assemble. So feel free to let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know if you agree with some of the pros and cons I feel about it. And also let me know what I can do better when it comes to painting. If there's any sort of tips you can give me. Please do not tell me to buy a spray paint booth and all that. I'm okay with the more hand-painted look, and also it's not that bad for me at least. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Bye. The TCG was a very pleasant surprise. I'm thoroughly enjoying that, so I can see myself into the tabletop space because of this. Let's see what happens.